Hi, everybody. So today we're going to be looking at archetypes again, but today we're going to be focusing on archetypes in literature rather in film. So, as with other things in literature, like we've done before, it's easier to notice those things in film before you look at them in a book. But we are going to be focusing on books today. It doesn't have to be a chapter book that's on an eighth grade level. It doesn't have to be one that you've read from AR or in class or for your book report. It can be a children's book. It can be a graphic novel. We're talking about any book. Okay. So don't get it in your mind that it has to be this long, complicated book. Many books have archetypes in them. In fact, all of them have at least one. Okay, so let's go over what an archetype is. I posted this yesterday for you guys, but I'm going to go over with you because looking at your Google form answers, it seems like there was a little bit of confusion on a couple of them. So, archetypes are universal patterns in all stories and mythologies, regardless of culture or time period. It's part of the human mind contained in the collective unconscious. Okay, this was invented by a guy named Carl Jung. He was a psychologist. So, he believed that stories and movies, even if they were produced in other cultures, not necessarily in America, they followed the same pattern of characters. So some of the books that you see written by cultural writers, they still have these typical archetypes. So let's go over them. The first one is the hero. This one is pretty self-explanatory, but what we have not went over yet, and we will, it's called a hero's wheel. And so the hero's wheel talks about how the hero is shown in different stages of them becoming a hero, right? Because most books and movies, the hero doesn't necessarily start out believing that they're a hero. Or if they do, they always have a fall or there's some kind of conflict in there that they have to overcome to believe that they can achieve what they're trying to do. So that's kind of called the hero's journey. All right, so think about that. The hero doesn't necessarily have to start out the hero, but through their journey, they become the hero. The next one is a mentor. So the mentor is an older, wiser teacher to the initiate. He often serves as a father or mother figure, and he gives the hero gifts and serves as a role model or as a hero's conscience. So this is pretty self explanatory. It's the person who helps them on their way. This is typically also called the wise old man. It can be a woman as well, but that would just be the name other than mentor. They changed it to mentor to be a little more sensitive of that. But it can be a man or a woman, but it's typically an older person who guides the hero on their way and helps them in whatever they need. The next one is the threshold guardian. This one there was a little bit of confusion on in the Google form. So this tests the hero's courage and worthiness to begin the journey. This is typically a person, okay? It can be a major event that they have to overcome, but typically it's put in place by a person that tests the hero's courage and worthiness to begin the journey. So this typically comes at the beginning of a book before the hero has that turning point to where they decide that they are going to take the quest or they're going to achieve something. So the threshold guardian might be their best friend that's like, are you sure you want to do this? Okay, they're testing the hero's courage. They're making sure that the hero is willing to actually become the hero. That's the threshold. If you've ever heard the saying, oh, they're going to step over the threshold, a threshold is that bottom trim below a door. Okay, so symbolically, one side of the hero's door would be to chicken out and not be a hero, to go back to their comfortable life. Whereas if they step over the threshold and decide to be a hero, then that's going to be their journey from there on out. So they're the threshold guardian. They make sure that the hero is going to become the hero. It's a one-time thing right at the beginning of the journey. And then that person is gone. They are not the threshold guardian after that. The next one is hunting group of companions. These are loyal companions willing to face hardship and ordeal in order to stay together. All right, so this doesn't necessarily have to do with like guns or bow and arrow hunting. Okay, it's just like a pack of friends. That's why it's called hunting, right? Because it's a pack. It's a pack of friends that do everything together. They don't decide to take the easy way out. They choose to do the hard thing to be able to stay with their friends. Okay, so they sacrifice what's easy and comfortable to be able to help their friends. The next one is the shadow. This is a worthy opponent with whom the hero must struggle in a fight to the end. Must be destroyed or neutralized, and psychologically can represent the darker side of the hero's own psyche. Okay, so this could be like a shadow creature where they have to um, battle themselves internally to figure out what they actually want. But typically, this is an actual person to where they're challenging and making the hero disbelieve that they can do something, and the hero has to overcome that. All right, so I'm thinking of just a movie example would be like in Princess and the Frog, the Shadow Man, right? He makes Prince Naveen think that he wants everything in the world. He wants to be famous, right? And that he can give that to him. And then, obviously the movie happens and that doesn't turn out to be true. And they have to work to get the Shadow Man neutralized. Okay, so it's a worthy opponent. It's someone who challenges them throughout the book as to who they really are. The next one is the evil figure with ultimately a good heart. So this is a devil figure with the potential to be good. This person is usually saved by the love of the hero. Okay, we're not talking like devil figure as in this person looks like the devil or Satan. Okay, we're saying that they don't act nice in the beginning. They seem like the bad guy, but then with the love of the hero, they turn to be good, right? So they have a good heart, but it just comes across all wrong and they seem like the bad guy, but they eventually turn good by the end of the book. The scapegoat. There was a lot of confusion with this one too. It does say it can be an animal, but typically it is a human whose death in a public ceremony expiates some taint or sin of a community. They're often more powerful in death than in life. Okay, so there's a couple things that the scapegoat could be. The scapegoat could be like a human sacrifice, and I'm not talking like, they put them up on an altar and like kill them as a sacrifice. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay, as in they sacrifice themselves for the greater good. So if you know that your whole pack of friends is going to be killed unless you go try to kill the monster while they run away, and you choose to make that sacrifice, you are the scapegoat, right? You're facing death in order to save the greater good or your friends. A scapegoat can also be someone that takes the blame for everybody else. Okay, so it doesn't necessarily always mean that they're going to get killed, right? If I go face the beast to save all you guys, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to get killed. I mean, I probably will because, I'm not very sporty or athletic, and y'all know I don't run, so probably I would get killed, but I would do that for y'all, okay? So a scapegoat can also be taking the blame. So if we're sitting in class and all of a sudden I see spitballs on the ceiling and I ask who did it, and like 5 or 6 people did it, but one person takes the blame so that all 5 people don't get in trouble, that's a scapegoat. I better not see any spitballs on my ceiling after this video. Y'all here? Okay. The next one is the creature of nightmare. Okay, this is a monster usually summoned from the deepest, darkest part of the human psyche to threaten the lives of heroes or a heroine. That's not a drug, okay? That is a female hero, just to be clear, because I know some of you will ask me that. Often it is a perversion or desecration of the human body. So this is the big monster, okay, that comes in, and it's a creature of nightmare. They're threatening the hero, so typically it says it's a perversion or desecration of the human body, so they don't look human. It looks like a creature of nightmare, okay? The temptress. There was a little bit of confusion with this one as well. This is obviously a woman characterized by sensuous beauty, so she's very beautiful. This woman is one to whom the protagonist is physically attracted to and who ultimately brings about his downfall. May appear as a witch or a vampire, okay? Typically, they're not going to appear as a witch or a vampire. Like most stories do not have witches and vampires, okay? The temptress appears in all kinds of literature, not just vampires and witches, okay? So, for an example, this temptress does not always have to destroy the hero or the protagonist. This woman can start out like that, right? Because, the pretty girl in the movie or the book typically distracts the hero from what he's supposed to be doing, but that doesn't mean that the hero doesn't get back on track, okay? So the temptress can distract the hero, but that doesn't necessarily mean she brings down his downfall. It means that she distracts him from doing what he's supposed to be doing, and there are some consequences. but he can always get back on track, and she could, fall in love with him in the end. So the temptress isn't always a terrible person, but she does always distract the hero from what he's supposed to be doing, and there are always some kind of consequences from that. But they could still end up together in the end. And then the last one are star-crossed lovers. These are two characters engaged in a love affair, fated to end tragically for one or both due to the disapproval of society, friends, family, or some tragic situation. So the most common book I can think of is The Fault in Our Stars. Pretty simple. Okay? Two characters, they love each other so much, but they know that it's going to end tragically. One of them is in a tragic situation of being really sick. Okay? This doesn't always have to be a tragic situation. It can just be disapproval. Okay, so the example in the video yesterday was Peeta and Katniss from the Hunger Games, right? So he says they're star-crossed lovers and that he loves her, and society loves it, but friends and family, not so much. And they are in a tragic situation of they're in the Hunger Games, so only one of them can win, which means the other one will die. Okay, so those are just some more examples for you and some better explanation because I know there was some confusion. So now you need to go back to Google Classroom. If you need more examples, you can always watch the video from yesterday. It gives some more examples from film. And then you need to complete the assignment from yesterday if you haven't already, and complete the assignment for today. If you have any questions, please email me.